All right, hello everyone.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the stream that Melanie has been waiting for this entire time.
Going to call this one the Lex and Melanie stream.
I am so excited for this.
I am
I
just the
I got the
technician on
notes.
this one.
I got the notes. I'm ready. Melanie's already here. I did a little bit of outside research as well. And I'm sure Melanie has a lot to add as well. So,
Yes, Melanie, how are you doing today? And also Kayla, hello. Ooh, economics, fun. I remember having to do economics.
you know what? It was really sticky today. It wasn't so much like really hot, but it was very sticky, and I didn't appreciate it.
I was inside all day, so
Yeah. Well, like the temperature was fine and there was even a nice breeze, but it was sticky and I didn't like it.
I'm so sorry. I had a nice breeze from the air conditioner. That
Must
was
be
nice.
nice. Must be nice.
It was nice. See,
But
I'm also weird though. I like hot. Like hitting the, low to mid 80s, that's perfect for me.
I also got this.
That was a big kangaroo.
You don't know who that is?
Yeah, it's Bindi.
There's the windows.
I'm saying she's big now.
Yeah, she big BB. So I got to hold that windows.
Yeah, I remember economics.
I remember
Economics
economics
was
too.
was the most boring class I had to take, but probably the most useful class I've ever taken in high
Yeah, I
school.
found it. I found it. It was kind of boring, but it was also, I don't know. It was pretty interesting for the most part. I learned a lot. It is
Maybe if
currently,
the Gaunts had
yeah, it's
taken
currently
economics,
73 degrees up here as well, Melanie.
maybe if the Gaunts had taken economics, they wouldn't end up in the shack that they live in.
Probably not. Um, I'm just gonna throw it out here real quick. If we do go to Comic Con next year with Noelle,
Uh-huh.
we should let Melanie know so we can meet up with her.
Okay.
Just saying. But yeah, if the Gaunts had known anything about economics, they might not be in the situation in which they are in.
I was gonna kind of pass it over to you, and how do you want to like kick this stream off and start it? I'm just kind of BSing right now.
Well, I figured we'd wait. We'd chit chat for a few minutes to see if anyone else pops in. 73 is like temperate, I guess. It's not too hot. It's definitely not cold. I don't know. I guess 73 is like slightly warm. Yeah. 68
I
to
think
72.
73 is the equivalent to something like 30 degrees Celsius.
No. 30 degrees Celsius is like 80.
Oh, okay.
I've talked to I I talked to Katie about this a lot. I've like burned it into my brain. 30 degrees Celsius equals 80 degrees Fahrenheit.
Okay.
Or like 82 or
I
something.
mean, I was close. 7 degrees off.
I know it was in the low 80s earlier and I was hot. What's our cold? I think for the two of us, cold has different
I think she means
definitions.
like what's like the coldest we get, which is usually in the single digits Fahrenheit.
Yeah, usually for us, the single digits Fahrenheit, and sometimes we do get into the negatives Fahrenheit.
Be like what, negative 15, 20-ish C.
No. Negative like 20 C is like negative 30 Fahrenheit. No.
No, it isn't.
Yeah.
No. Because here's a fun fact. Negative 40 is the same in both temperatures.
That's right. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. I remember that
Negative
because it was
40 is just negative 40.
negative 40. It was negative 40 one day when I was in Russia. That's right.
Yeah.
I remember. Yeah. Okay. My bad. It's hot. I'm sorry. I am like a cold temperature person, which is really terrible because I love kangaroos and they live in like one of the hottest places on the planet. So like
No, it isn't.
where the Reds live is hot.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, where because the Reds is my favorite, and the Reds live in the middle of Australia.
So it's like it. I mean, yeah, I guess it is kind of
The
hot, but
the
it's
the
definitely not the hottest.
I know, but they live in like the outback.
Yeah.
It was just hot. All right, it's not the hottest place on earth, but it gets pretty effing hot.
Let's go to Queensland.
I mean,
Their average is 51 to 70. I'll take it.
I mean, I am down to go to Australia. I've said that before. I'm down to go there. This sweater is so warm, and I feel like I might have to take it off. Like I can't think. I'm so hot.
An hot flash? I don't know if the mic just picked that up, but you sounded like a dolphin drinking that.
I was just gonna say that sounded like a dolphin. Yeah, I gotta take this off. Also, this morning, I didn't tell you this before, but we were given the tapir like cuddles and loves, and he laid down, and we were like rubbing his belly, and he was like, hmm. And then he let out the longest fart I've ever heard in my life. It was like it was a symphony.
That man is living life.
And we were like, all right, whatever. He let the fart out. We keep rubbing his belly. And then at about 2 minutes,
the encore came.
the smell.
Oh.
The smell was dear God. It was unholy, that smell. Rotten vegetables and butt.
Thank you. I needed all that information.
Just saying.
TMI.
Oh. And then afterwards, he was just laying there like this.
All perfectly content, not knowing all that. Thank you.
You're welcome. And at this point, I think we have wasted enough time to see if anyone else was going to pop in. So we might as well start. Okay. So, Chapter 10 of The Half-Blood Prince, The House of Gaunt.
Yes.
We're going to talk about it.
The House of Gaunt.
We are going to talk about it. We are going to dive deep and dissect this chapter. Before
Knowing the Gaunts, I don't know how deep I want to get, but I might regret doing this stream in a few minutes.
Oh my god, 51 degrees in winter in New York City? Yeah, 51 degrees in winter would be like, wait, is it spring? before we get deep into it, because you said this is very much our thing, do you want to express your thoughts on this chapter?
What, me?
Yeah.
I'm just kind of here for the ride.
Well, give us your Big's take on this.
Other than the chapter gives me the heebie-jeebies a little bit, I mean, I think it pretty much explains why Voldemort is the way he is, and actually brings us to what you were talking about earlier. And that certain person, you could bring up this chapter to warn them about the issues of incestual relationships across any species. Do you want a Voldemort? Because this is how you get a Voldemort.
That's fair. That's fair.
I don't know. I
Sorry, I
think
feel like I
this
have
is
to.
even if you don't, if you're not like, you who really likes Voldemort as a character, you walk away from this chapter going, I get it.
um so I thought what we could do is basically start with a general synopsis of like what happens in the chapter. Just a broad summary of the events of the chapter and then kind of get into breaking it down.
Okay.
Okay. Do you remember anything about what happens in the chapter? Other than it's yucky.
Do you want me to just go over the plot of the chapter real quick? Everything I remember?
Sure, why not? Why
Harry
don't
and Dumbledore jump into the Pensieve. They are face to face with this broken down gate with a snake nailed to it, and then this creepy dude comes out of the tree and says, "Get away!" in parcel tongue to not them. I don't remember who it was that was there. The memory that we're following.
Ogden, the Ministry of Magic official.
Yeah, tells him to get away, and he's like, "No, I have a few questions." And then the Gaunt says, "Okay, come on in." And they invites him in, and then they proceed to uh, gross him out through their hillbilly incestual antics as Marvola puts the moves on his daughter,
He
so
does
while
not actually do that.
simultaneously is very abusive towards her. And then continues to say how great his family is and that the ministry and everyone else should take notes and F off.
What about the muggles?
They can F off too.
What about a very specific muggle?
Oh, Tom Riddle?
Yeah.
He can F off.
He rides by.
Oh, yeah. And then, what's her name?
Merope.
Merope eyes him out the window.
Yep.
It was love at first sight.
And then her brother tells on her.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Um and then um Harry and Dumbledore leave and then what?
Wait, is this where we learn about Merope putting Tom Riddle under the love potion?
Yes.
Okay. Then yeah, we learn about that, and she basically drugs him, rapes
For
him,
for months.
and has a child,
Mhm.
and then decides to not drug him and say, "My bad, still want to be together?" And he says, "No,"
Yep.
and he goes back to his parents.
Yep.
That's about it.
And then she dies.
Does she die in this chapter?
Yeah, they talk about it.
Okay.
They talk about it. How she
Jeez, I didn't know there was going to be a test.
Yeah.
I just thought I'd sit
Well,
back and let you guys.
I thought you could summarize because um
You're going to analyze.
yeah, we're going to analyze. So I figured if you wanted to give the summary,
So I mean, that's pretty much the summary right
um
there. Unless I missed something.
no, I think you pretty much got it. Also, I just want to throw out here in the first sentence of the chapter, they mention Libacious Borage. He's the writer of the potions book in this book. Um, Libacious is significant for a couple of reasons, because libation, of course, is a drink. And then in Deathly Hallows, Rowling specifically quotes a piece called The Libation Bearers.
The libation bearers.
It's just the work that she quotes. It's the
Oh.
title of a piece of writing that she quotes.
Oh, okay.
It's a little thing. I just thought that, put that in there. Because I thought about that when I was reading this. I was like, oh, libacious. That pops up again later.
Just wanted to prove to us that you've read the book. I get it.
What book?
The, the Harry Potter.
I think people know at this point that I've read the book. So the first thing I actually wanted to bring up is about Professor Trelawney, and it's not about like the whole chunk of the story itself. So as Harry is like on his way to go see Dumbledore, he bumps into Professor Trelawney. And Professor Trelawney says the following: "Two of spades, conflict," she murmured as she passed the place where Harry crouched, hidden. "Seven of spades, an ill omen. 10 of spades, violence. Knave of spades, a dark young man, possibly troubled, one who dislikes the questioner." This right here is an actual freaking prediction. Oh,
Trelawney does.
read that message there.
Been chatting for several minutes while the title page was still on. Or at least I couldn't see or hear. Wait, what?
I don't know. Hello, Dan. We hadn't really gotten too far into any discussion. I literally just read like the first thing I was going to talk about. So,
Okay, that's so weird because I mean this is.
showing that we're current.
Okay, let's go.
Hi, Ren. Um, what the heck?
We switched off around the 2 minute mark.
Oh, okay.
Is when the title page ended. So
Jeez.
I don't know.
Okay. Should I just start again with Trelawney?
Yeah, I think if you go back, it should be fine. Maybe it was just a glitch in the live stream. I'm not sure, but when I go back to play the stream, everything's correct.
So maybe I should just start again with this.
Yeah, I think you could probably just start with the Trelawney thing.
Okay. So the first thing I wanted to talk about was Trelawney. Harry runs into her on his way to see Dumbledore, and she says, "Two of spades, conflict," she murmured as she passed the place where Harry crouched, hidden. "Seven of spades, an ill omen. 10 of spades, violence. Knave of spades, a dark young man, possibly troubled, one who dislikes the questioner." She stopped dead, right on the other side of Harry's statue. So this is an interesting little bit from Trelawney because I think this is another moment where, in fact, Trelawney is actually predicting things and she doesn't even know she's doing it.
No one knows she's doing it.
Well,
Well,
yeah.
no one believes she's doing it.
So, two of spades means conflict. Two of spades in tarot. So she's got playing cards. Um, the two of spades is the equivalent of the two of swords, which does indicate like there is a conflict or the calm before the storm. So Trelawney is predicting that there is some kind of impending thing coming. And then right after the seven of spades is an ill omen. Um, again, something bad is coming. There's going to be some kind of warning that's going to come about. That something bad is coming, and Harry is going to warn Dumbledore later in the story about what Draco is doing, right? Um, 10 of spades is the 10 of swords. The 10 of swords is very common to mean betrayal. Some kind of betrayal, some cataclysmic, awful, violent event. Usually the card will show like a man lying face down with like 10 swords in his back, and it's usually betrayal. Um,
Betraying someone's trust and love with a love potion.
or using a vanishing cabinet to let a bunch of Death Eaters into your school. Or what looks like betrayal to Harry's eyes by killing your headmaster right in front of you. And then Knave of Spades, a dark young man, possibly troubled, one who dislikes the questioner. That is Draco. He is a troubled young man who wants Snape out of his business.
Yeah.
So that's like
See
just
that?
boom. So that right there was the first thing that I picked up on in this chapter. Um, it's not really like the
All the
meat.
Trelawney haters. She was right. All
Um,
along.
it's not really like the meat and potatoes of the discussion, but that was just one little moment where it was like, oh, Trelawney's predicting something. Like this is good. Like we can put this in here. Um, and for what it's worth, Rowling is pretty true to the tarot and what it does. Um, and then it goes on where she says that can't be right, and then like she leaves, and then Harry keeps going, and he winds up on the seventh floor corridor where Dumbledore's office is, and I just wrote, um, Dumbledore's office is on the seventh floor. 7 is the most magical number.
Dumbledore's the most magical of them all.
Heck yeah. Um,
A lot goes down on the seventh floor because wasn't the girls' bathroom on the seventh floor where they do the um uh what was it? The potion. I can't
no,
remember the potions. No?
no,
Oh.
they're on like the second floor or something. They're not on the seventh floor.
Never mind.
Um,
Well, I mean, Dan technically is right. Draco is kind of naive too.
so then Harry shows up at Dumbledore's office and they chit chat. Um, and it's their first meeting, so Dumbledore is like, I think, it's time that I gave you more information about why Voldemort tried to kill you that night, and we're gonna do some explorations and blah blah blah. And then they pulls out the pensieve and yada yada. And I just wanted to note this because it's a great line. Naturally, I do. But as I have already proven to you, I make mistakes like the next man. In fact, being, forgive me, rather cleverer than most men, my mistakes tend to be correspondingly huger.
There.
Yeah, I was just like, points for a little bit of Dumbledore sass.
You gotta love Dumbledore sass.
It's always worth noting when it happens. So I had to pop that in there.
why it popped into my head when you're talking about bringing out the pensieve, but I'm trying to picture back in the day when Dumbledore was a teacher, and now I'm just picturing him as like the Miss Frizzle of Hogwarts, just pulling out the pensieve. All right, class, time for a field trip.
Mm. Maybe he did that in Transfiguration. We will never know. And then we get into like what we want to talk about, the actual memory. So Harry and Dumbledore follow this guy Ogden, who is a Ministry of Magic official. He works for the Department of Magical Law Enforcement, and he is there to go see the Gaunts. Um, and the Gaunts live in a shack outside of Little Hangleton. And it is very isolated and covered up, and it is a hovel. Rowling uses the word filthy, I don't know how many times in this chapter. Um, so we get this description. Despite the cloudless sky, the old trees ahead cast deep, dark, cool shadows, and it was a few seconds before Harry's eyes discerned the building half hidden among the tangle of trunks. It seemed to him a very strange location to choose for a house, or else an odd decision to leave the trees growing nearby, blocking all light and the view of the valley below. He wondered whether it was inhabited. Its walls were mossy, and so many tiles had fallen off the roof that the rafters were visible in some places. Nettles grew all round it, their tips reaching the windows, which were tiny and thick with grime. Just as he had concluded that nobody could possibly live there, however, one of the windows was thrown open with a clatter, and a thin trickle of steam or smoke issued from it, as though somebody was cooking. What?
I'm just waiting.
So this passage stood out to me because it appears it's a house that has definitely fallen into disrepair. It's hidden, it's overgrown and rotted. Um and I think it is a physical manifestation of what has happened to the family Gaunt. Their line has been rotted and corrupted, and it's reflected in this description of the house. It's been
Fallen into
overgrown,
disrepair.
fallen into disrepair, overgrown, over weeded, over intertwined, and now you have this just like husk of patheticness, really. Um, and I was reading that and just thought the house was a reflection of that. Um,
And there's like another degree of like sadness that the house is in this much disrepair when you're a magical family. Like it's one thing like muggles, cost a lot. It's a lot of work, a lot of time. For
you
magic,
could
it's just
reparo,
reparo. Yeah.
or even I'm sure like there's pruning you could do, magical pruning, um, like herbology type stuff you could do for some of the plants and things. Um, this also reminds me of some of the descriptions of like the Yule House and To Kill a Mockingbird. Like just it just reeks of poverty.
Yeah.
Um,
That's definitely the vibe I get from the description.
yeah,
It's it's a total 180 from all the other like pure blood houses we've seen up to this point. Like all the other pure blood houses, it was always, the Malfoys, the Blacks, even the
the Weasleys,
Potters, the
the
Weasleys.
even the Weasleys' home, like you could even argue, um, the Weasleys are poor, right? They are very poor, but their home is still cozy. It's welcoming. It is kept up. It's haphazard and it's messy, but it's not dirty. It's not neglected. It's well loved and well lived in,
Yeah,
unlike this home.
exactly.
Um,
Just total opposite from what we've been told that the pure blood families are
yeah.
up until this point.
And yeah, then you have Malfoy Manor by comparison, which is It's a manor home, and it's actually, to kind of draw a parallel, the manor home of the Malfoys, it's well kept, but there is a coldness there, but it is well kept. It is fancy and stature and money and blah blah blah, and that is the same type of home that Tom Riddle Sr. lives in.
Mhm.
Tom Riddle Sr. lives in a manor home. And I this is kind of off the cuff right now. And Melanie, you tell me what you think, because I didn't write this down. But Tom Riddle Sr. comes from this big manor house out in the country in this little town, and they own half the town and half all the property around, and the Malfoys have kind of this very similar thing. And what does that trigger for Voldemort?
Good.
I feel like that could I feel like how he treats the Malfoys could be part and parcel of what happened here with the riddles and whatever. Like, I think maybe he sees a
Maybe
little
that's
bit
why
of
he's so awful to Lucius. He sees a bit of his father in Lucius.
he could. I think there could be some of that there. I mean, obviously Lucius disappointed him, but I think
Yeah,
there
there's a
might
lot of reasons.
but I think part of that inherent dislike could be because of those shared similarities that he does have with his father. Um, because there is a connection there. There
I
is.
think it's too much of a stretch to go there.
Yeah.
Um, Room of Requirements is also on the 7th floor. Yep. Hey, Vane.
Yeah, they are.
What about the magical repair? Perhaps the Gaunts, not just Merope, are in severe depression.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Voldy would be envious of Malfoy Manor, and Voldy was denied belonging to the Riddle House. That Malfoy Manor, I feel like, is everything Voldy would have wanted. And there is some resentment and hatred there towards the Malfoys for that. I think it's in there.
Yeah.
Um, and then we get to Ogden comes up to the house, and then Morphin jumps down out of the tree, and he says, "You're not welcome," in Parcel tongue. And it says, the man standing before them had thick hair so matted with dirt it could have been any color. Several of his teeth were missing. His eyes were small and dark and stared in opposite directions. He might have looked comical, but he did not. The effect was frightening, and Harry could not blame Ogden for backing away several more paces before he spoke. Um, right away, just based on this description, you can tell these people live in poverty. These people do not, whoever lives here, like, the hygiene is not a thing. It doesn't exist. Um, his teeth are missing, he's just a very, and with the eyes going in different directions, like, that is a sign of inbreeding. That is a thing. Um, but
Is that?
immediately, yeah, it can happen. Yeah.
Oh, I thought he just had a lazy eye or something. I
No,
don't know.
they both go in different directions. Like, that does happen. Like, that is an actual biological thing that can happen with too much inbreeding, is the eyes going in opposite directions.
Hey, look at that. Learn something new every day.
Um and what does he do? He immediately says in Parcel tongue, "You're not welcome." So there's no social etiquette, and he is immediately using his Parcel tongue to exert his authority over this stranger, and also his superiority over the stranger, because all he has is his Parcel tongue and his pure blood pride, because he very much doesn't have anything else.
Even though Slytherins are the only ones who can speak parcel tongue. So, I don't know what he expected his reaction to be, though. Let me yell at you in parcel tongue, a language that only a handful of people understand.
That's why he's doing it.
I know, but assuming Ogden would just be like, "What? Why are you hissing? What is that?"
Well, it's a tactic to disarm him and also like jar him. And then Harry and Dumbledore have that conversation about can you understand him? And Harry's like, yeah, and it's parcel tongue, and they figure it out. And then Marvolo comes out, and he is described as he having overlong arms and looking like a powerful aged monkey, which is another point to Rowling kind of leading us in the direction of this inbreeding thing without the reveal yet, because Salazar Slytherin is described as looking monkey-like. So the traits have been passed down because there's been so much inbreeding to the point where his descendants, even 1,000 years later, still kind of have this monkey-like quality, and they got eyeballs staring in different directions.
You wonder though, like, okay, they've been inbreeding for centuries, but so have like all the other pureblood families. Why are they the only ones that are showing like signs of this at this point?
Because they married more closely than everyone else did.
Oh,
So it's revealed that the Gaunts, for generations, married direct cousins,
uh,
like Gaunts marrying Gaunts.
Targaryen style.
Yeah, Targaryen style.
Gotcha.
Whereas the other families would marry into different families
Oh, okay.
until you started unrelated, and
Until it's
as
just starting to become a problem where
by the time like
all the
Harry and
purebloods
Draco,
are
yeah,
related.
yeah. Um, but the Gaunts got ahead of the curve. Um,
Mr. Darcy talking to Lucius. Oh God.
um, and then they talk about the dead snake being nailed to the door. And Morvolo kind of starts questioning Ogden, like, "Who are you? Why are you here?" etc. Um, and Gaunt says, "Should have made your presence known, shouldn't you?" said Gaunt aggressively. "This is private property. Can't just walk in here and not expect my son to defend himself." "Defend himself against what, man?" said Ogden, clambering back to his feet. "Busybodies, intruders, muggles and filth." Um, and this just reminds me a lot of the rural South, even the rural areas out here, where people very fiercely defend their private property. This is my land, no one steps on it. The intense pride of this is mine, step off. You have no right to come onto my property. Melanie, let me know if you agree with me or not, but I cannot help but picture a rural
I don't think you can really just.
person with a shotgun saying, "Get off my land, get off my property. Who are you? This is private, this is mine."
Yeah, I don't think you can put a direct region on it, but yeah, there's definitely that like
That
backwoods.
culture of that, this is my property. And the government has no place here. Because Ogden is the government, and this is this guy saying, "Get out of here. This is mine. Government, F off." Um, no, it's not really limited to rural people either, but it is a stereotype, right? Of that guy with his gun defending his property. Um, honestly, and I think it does very much. There is this element of poorer rural white people who have this innate pride in their what is theirs, and no one's taking it from me, and you have no right to come here unless I say so, and react aggressively to anyone coming in on their turf.
I mean, yeah, I don't think you can pinpoint it down to like one area, one race, or anything. But I get what you're saying.
Yeah. Yeah.
I always
Um,
picture like the action movie star, living in the cabin in the woods, and then the government comes,
yeah.
you know, bring him back
Um,
in.
and I just wrote like it's extreme pride in what very little they have. They are proud, and um, it
Spin at straws here.
me.
No, they
They
are.
yeah yeah. Um, and then Ogden says, "I'm here to see Morphin. We got to talk about something." Um, and here I'm just gonna pause on the story a little. Well, no, I'll keep going. Actually, we'll wait a little bit. Um, and then before they go inside, Marvolo says, "You know, you've got to be a mudblood. I think I've seen noses like yours down in the Muggle town." Um, and that's just like really racist. Like, come on.
Yeah.
It's very much like the whole like, oh, you've got a nose like that, you must be from here, or you must be a Jew, or you must be a this. It's very blatantly racist and very rude and very ignorant.
You know how like racist and stereotypical all the
But
purebloods are.
this is just very. I imagine the two eyes going in different directions away from each other, not towards each other. Yeah, I can confirm. Um, it says his eyes were small and dark and stared in opposite directions. So that means the eyes go away from each other in opposite directions, not towards each other.
It's evolution superiority. People can't sneak up on them. 360-degree vision.
Um, so and Ogden says, "Well, I want to talk about what your son did. That's why I'm here to see him. You must know I sent a letter." And Marvolo then says, I have no use for owls. I don't open letters." Which could kind of lead you to think that, number one, none of these people can read,
Probably.
potentially. Number two, did Merope and Morphin go to Hogwarts?
Probably not.
Right. Um, and I'm just
Actually,
gonna do
probably did because Slytherin was the head of house there, so you have to go there.
maybe. There's no confirmation either way, right? We really don't know. But if he doesn't open letters, um, maybe he
Assume they did. I just picture them more of like the Crab and Goyle type students.
um I could also see it being a case of like what happens in To Kill a Mockingbird with the Yules. Like they go to school, but they don't really go to school. And then everyone just kind of turns a blind eye to it with the Yules because that's just how they are.
Gotcha.
But they don't know how to read, they don't know how to write, and they don't feel any need or desire to learn those things. And maybe Marvolo thought, I'll teach them better than Hogwarts will. They don't need Hogwarts. I got this. We're better than everyone else. We don't need that.
Good. I think you could argue also the other side of the coin is that, Slytherin, this is Slytherin school. You have to go there, um get in Slytherin and, you know, show them what a real Slytherin is capable of. That sort of
It's a
thing.
funky one. I tend to lead more towards the
I
fact that
mean,
they weren't formally
based on the
educated.
outcome, it definitely leans to me believing that they may have not been formally educated,
I feel
or
like
if
they
they
would have
did,
more
they
social
just
skills if they were.
I mean, not if they just thought they were better than everyone and like shunned all social interactions.
Yeah, but I don't know. I feel like they wouldn't be so turned inward. Merope would have potentially escaped. I just get the vibe that they are. In To Kill a Mockingbird, the farm kids went to school a little while until they were needed on the farm to work. The following year, they restarted the same grade. I feel like it's kind of a similar situation with these two. Like maybe they started to go and then just um and I think if any of them went, Morphin maybe went. But yeah, I could see Marvolo just not sending her, making her stay home to do
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah,
Um
definitely the way he treats her. I could definitely see that.
and then we Ogden says I'm here following a breach of wizarding law, which occurred here. They go inside. Morphin sits down in a filthy armchair, twisting a snake in between his hands, and he says, "Hissy, hissy, little snaky, slither on the floor. You be good to Morphin, or he'll nail you to the door." So we have this incredible skill, parcel tongue, and we're using it to torture animals, pretty much.
Sure, or is it a sign that they're not even that good at parcel tongue because even the snakes won't obey them? Because if the other snake was nailed to the door because he like bit him or something, well, that shows that you're not really that capable, are you?
I
Considering you had Voldemort who could speak parcel tongue so well he could control basilisk, but you can't even control this little like I don't know. Does it say what type of snake?
It's an
Garter
adder.
snake, an adder.
So then I'm going to go to my next point, and then we meet Merope after that. Harry sees her. She's wearing a gray dress, and she's lank and just sad. And the description of her is just sad and depressing, and like she's trying to blend into the wall. Um, which brings me to my point about the name Gaunt itself.
Okay.
It's very, I think it's very purposeful that she named the family Gaunt. The word Gaunt indicates lean, thin, starving, right? You think if someone is described as being gaunt, they're hollow, they're very thin, and they are starving. And you have Marvolo, Merope, and Morphin, who are all starving for something. You have Marvolo, who is starving for power and glory of his ancestry. You have Merope, who is starved for love and kindness to the point where she will harm someone else to get it. And then you have Morphin, who, based on how he acts with the snakes, he's starved for cruelty and enacting cruelty on others. And he does it to the snakes, he does it to the muggles. His whole vibe is, I want to hurt as many things and people as I can.
Sounds familiar, doesn't it?
Um,
We know where he gets it from.
and I was reading that Merope is a name. Um, oh, maybe that Marvolo taught his kids only parcel tongue, not English, to build on their Slytherin pride and isolate them. That's an interesting concept.
That could be.
I mean, it. I think it's definitely possible. Um, and to control them, for sure.
Snakes are the only friends you need.
Um, you don't need to speak the common Muggle tongue. This is all we need to learn. Um, I was gonna say something else and I lost it.
I just read Ren's comment. My aunt and uncle are doomsday preppers. They pulled their 3 kids out of school to indoctrinate them.
Oh wow,
Which I don't get, because if you're a doomsday prepper, wouldn't you want them to be as smart as possible? Like,
that's
you better
sad.
go to school and become the best engineer ever, because we're going to need you to
Not
build stuff.
necessarily.
You better
Maybe
go to school and become the best botanist ever, because we're
no.
going to have to grow crops.
I feel like they probably are the type of doomsday preppers who think like the government is evil and brainwashing everyone, and they're gonna kill everybody.
I mean, I guess it's just like if doomsday hits, I want people who know how to build and grow things.
You want Mark Watney?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, off topic. Gaunts.
Um. Either way, Ren, I'm very sorry that that happened. That is sad. Yeah, I could see it. Um, I could definitely see that being a thing that they do. Um, Merope really doesn't speak at all, and Morphin really um doesn't speak much English. I like most of the conversation is in parcel tongue. There's a little bit of English, but not a lot. Um, and I think it's definitely possible that he used that to isolate them for sure. I'm gonna take 2 seconds and go to the bathroom though. Sorry.
Okay.
We're not even we didn't even get anywhere yet.
Jewish person, the podcasters compared this to Orthodox Jews starting to teach their children only Yiddish, protecting their heritage but also isolating them from others. I didn't know that happened,
Yeah,
but
I actually see it at work a lot.
I could definitely see it. You teach your kids parcel tongue first, and then, they can only talk to each other. They can't be brainwashed by the muggles and mudbloods of the world. I don't know. Maybe snakes are good at brainwashing, though. Let's see. I feel like we missed a couple comments. Going to go back up. No, I don't think. Hey, Unipeg. Hey, Ricky Bobby. I don't think I said hi to you guys. I think that most homeowners feel that way. Yeah, definitely. You know, your hard work is paying for your house and your land, and then you don't want anyone to come in and say, "Yeah, we're gonna take it."
All right, so the I remembered the thing I was gonna mention. Because we were talking about the name Gaunt, so I wanted to mention the name Merope. Merope is a name that can be seen in Greek mythology multiple times. There are multiple Meropes in different stories, and every time they are women who end up in terrible marriages and are pretty much unhappy and have tragic lives.
Here, okay. So
And
Merope is not something you want to name your child, is what you're saying
yeah,
when picking out a name.
Marvolo, it's often speculated whether Rowling just made up the name to make the anagram work, but it also is very similar to the word malevolent or malvolio, which translates into evil or ill intent, which he very much is.
I guess it's like a chicken and egg question. Which came first? Voldemort? So she made Marvolo out of that, or did Marvolo come first? And then she just used
I
that to create
I think she
Voldemort.
came up with Voldemort first. Based on like interviews that I've read, I think she came up with Voldemort first.
Oh, okay.
Um anyway, Ogden notices Merope, Gaunt introduces her. Um she gives a frightened look at her father, continues moving the pots around, and then she drops a pot and it breaks and Gaunt screams at her. She tries to pick up the pot. It shoots across the she tries to do magic. It shoots across the floor. It breaks. Morphin laughs at her. Um and then they're just like, "Mend it, you pointless lump. Mend it." Um they're just abusive to her right in front of Ogden. Um and Ogden is trying to be like, "Morphin, you committed harmful magic against a muggle." And it just gets lost in the cacophony of Merope dropping the pot and how abusive they are to her. And just the description of her She was standing beside a steaming pot on a grimy black stove and was fiddling around with the shelf of squalid-looking pots and pans above it. Her hair was lank and dull, and she had a plain, pale, rather heavy face. Her eyes, like her brother's, stared in opposite directions. She looked a little cleaner than the two men, but Harry thought he'd never seen a more defeated-looking person. So I wrote two things here. She's wearing gray. She's trying to hide. She's trying to just blend into the background and not be noticed by her abusers. And then I don't know how Melanie feels about this, but this description I wrote was, "This is Mayella Yule to a T" from To Kill a Mockingbird.
You should have told me to reread To Kill a Mockingbird before this.
There's so much To Kill a Mockingbird in here. It screams at me.
I
So
haven't read this since freshman year in high
I've
school.
read To Kill a Mockingbird like 10 times. So for me, it just is like this. Every time I read this chapter, I'm like, it's the Yules. It's the Yules every time. In the book, Mayella Yule is described as not a very attractive looking girl.
Right.
Wearing not very nice clothes, but trying her very best to keep herself clean and well groomed and just trying to lift herself up out of what she's in and just failing at it, but trying. And like Merope, she has to take care of everyone in the family. In the book, I believe she's 16. She's taking care of all of the kids in the house. And they have quite a few. And it's just her, her dad, and all these kids. And she is the one that does their clothes, cooks their food, does everything. And this is what the role that Merope is also fulfilling. She is the woman of the house. And this is also another situation in which the daughter is taking the place of the spouse or the mother figure. And it's not, there's something insidious about it. And
I didn't even feel like we got to the insidious part yet.
You have a daughter who is replacing the wife figure, the mother figure, with the element of the father and the brother, or in the case of the Yules, the father and all of the children. It's it's a position that neither of these women should be in.
Yeah.
It's not natural, it's not appropriate. And yet both of them, here they are. And they are both abused and beaten down constantly by the men in their lives. I'm sure the children run all over Mayella. Her father beats her. Merope is run all over by her brother. Her father beats her. So we'll get back on the overtones of Cinderella as well. Harry could definitely relate to that for sure.
Oh yeah.
So Ogden fixes the pot. He again talks about what he did to the muggle and how it's illegal, and the Gaunts don't really understand. They were just teaching them a lesson. They don't get why it's illegal.
They just don't care.
Right. And Ogden is telling him, you have a summons to appear at the ministry for this. You got to go to court. You got to blah, blah, blah. And the Gaunts are like, all right. The Marvolo is just like, for real? What?
It's like, oh, it was just a muggle. It's not like it was anyone important.
So they're having this exchange about going to court, and then Marvolo loses his shit, and he shoves the ring with the Peveril coat of arms in Ogden's face, and then he grabs Merope by the necklace by the locket and drags her over by her throat, and he's choking her, and he's throwing the locket in Ogden's face, like, this is Slytherin's locket, blah blah blah. Do you know who we are? We are the descendants of Salazar Slytherin, blah blah blah. Um, it and he goes through this whole pride of their heritage and who they are and yada yada. All the while he's choking Merope. Um, so this very much reminded me of all these some of the people who, you know, praise like the old glory days of, this is who we were, this is our heritage, this is our glory, kind of like what people do with the Confederacy.
Yeah. I
It,
was gonna say that in a negative way. I feel like there's a positive way to do that too.
there is a positive way, um,
And then not it's a positive way. But
but
this is one of those this is less of like being proud of who you are and like just going back to why I said like grasping at straws. Like
yeah,
trying to find those little things that you still have to be proud of.
this is like people who cling to the glory days of the Confederacy or who we were, because we are so poverty stricken and we are so ignorant that we have to cling to what we had before, even if it was a lie, like the Confederacy. And then we also have to simultaneously turn all of our anger and all of our hatred towards someone else, whether it's the government or another race or whatever it is. You see this projection of, my situation sucks, I need to blame it on someone, you're the target, I'm gonna blame it on you. And this is exactly what the Gaunts are doing with the muggles and the mudbloods and the ministry. They are taking their inner rage at their situation and they are blaming everyone but themselves for it, and not trying to better themselves, but rather just sitting here saying, we're the heirs of Slytherin, we are the best, we are the greatest, and it's everyone else's fault that we are where we are right now. And I feel like I see a lot of that with uneducated, poverty-stricken people. They're ignorant, they don't know better, but they are very easily seduced by the idea that your position sucks, this is whose fault it is. It's this group's fault. It's this person's fault. And that's exactly what Marvolo is doing here, and it is exactly what he's teaching his children.
It's also good to like specify that this is also extreme poverty.
Yes. This is extreme poverty. This is like,
This is the Yules.
this is the Yules. This is like, we
Not
don't
being
have
able to buy
running
sugar.
water, we don't have electricity, we don't have this, we can't afford to buy the basic necessities. This is like extreme poverty. I think that like most people don't see or understands exists, especially in the United States. Like, people don't realize this stuff exists in the United States, and it's like, yeah, there's actually a ton of people in the United States who don't have running water. That's real. And don't have a vehicle, and the nearest like grocery store is 30 minutes away. How are you going to get there and you don't have a vehicle? And you like, there are a lot of components to this, but this is kind of what this is. They are so isolated and they are so poor that they have to have an enemy. And they don't see any way to get up and out because they are so prideful and so hateful that it just is this convoluted mess of, yeah, they project their shame on other people. And it's everyone else's fault. And then when Tom Riddle Sr. goes riding by on his nice horse and has all of his money, they are forced to look at this rich, handsome muggle who owns half of everything and who seemingly has the world by the tail. And then here's this rich muggle talk crap about their poor inbred wizard family, but just talking down at them, and they hear it out the window, all they can think is, screw muggles. They're less than. I'm better. I have the blood of Slytherin flowing through my veins. F this. Even though I have nothing, even though I'm inbred, even though, like, I don't have running water, I'm still better than them. And they're the reason why I'm in my crap position. Um, I think Riddle is a component by all this. Yeah, marginalized by poverty. Um, they don't have what they need and they don't know how to get what they need and they're just very angry.
Magic. You can do magic.
Melanie says, if you can convince the lowest white man he's better than the best colored man, he won't notice you're picking his pocket. Hell, give him somebody to look down on, he'll empty his pockets for you. Exactly. I've heard that quote before. That is exactly what it is.
Yeah, I think that was in like one of my textbooks.
Also, low key, LBJ, one of the greatest presidents. He gets a bum rap, but that dude really tried. That dude tried hard. I gotta give LBJ props. That dude tried real hard, and I feel like we got that story wrong a lot of the time. But anyway,
It is best.
he tried. He tried his best. Um, but that is essentially what is going on here. It's just if you can convince the lowest wizard that he's better than the best muggle. That's it. And that's exactly what's going on here with the Gaunts. They've just been deluding themselves in with their poverty. And it's exactly what happens with these impoverished rural communities in the United States. There's a lot of parallels, and the Yules are a very good example of that. They may be like white trash, but they're still better than Tom Robinson and his family. It's kind of that vibe. Um so then Ogden um Ogden and Gaunt argue back and forth about the whole hearing thing, and then Tom Riddle shows up with Cecilia, who I'm assuming is his girlfriend. And they ride by, and Merope obviously is like watching out the window, right? And um the girl says she sees the shack and she's like, "Oh, that's such an eyesore." And Tom Riddle Sr. says it doesn't belong to us. Everything on the other side of the valley belongs to us, but that shack belongs to an old tramp and his children. The son's quite mad. And they basically just talk about how Morphin's crazy. Morphin gets pissed off. Marvolo says, "Chill out, relax." Um and
Government's here.
and then you find out that Tom Riddle Sr. is the muggle that Morphin hexed. And then Morphin reveals to Marvolo that Merope has a crush on Tom Riddle Sr. And Morphin pretty much says he's teasing her. He called her darling. No chance of you got. And then Morphin says she likes looking at that muggle. She hanging out the window waiting for him to ride home. And then Marvolo freaks out. Marvolo freaks out. Um Merope is like pressing herself into the wall, trying to disappear. Marvolo is advancing on her, and then Morphin is like, "But I got him. I made sure. I put zits all over him. Now he's not so cute, is he?" Um, and Marvolo just insults her and insults her. Ogden like breaks the fight up and like runs away. Um,
Back in the X.
So there are a couple of things I wanted to go over. Um, the Gaunts, the Ministry, and the Muggles, each one judging the other two, or at least judging one of the other two. Absolutely, there's just, everyone's judging everyone and making assumptions here. Um, so before I get into more To Kill a Mockingbird discussion, I thought I would ask the question, and you guys can tell me what you think. I'm curious to hear Melanie's opinion. Um, what do you think? We obviously know that there is emotional, mental, and physical abuse going on.
We've seen all of that in this
We've seen
so
all of
far.
that. However, what do you guys think of the idea that there has been sexual abuse going on in this household directed at Merope?
I'd rather not.
Um, I'm wondering what other people do. Does anyone else, when they read this chapter, get the impression that there is an undercurrent of potential sexual abuse that has gone on in this house? Before I discuss it, I just want to hear thoughts.
I'll just give my thoughts while everyone else is thinking. So when we first read it, no, I don't think that there was. Like I didn't get that. But I feel like you could maybe make that stretch based on the information given in the chapter if you wanted to. But like initially, I really didn't.
Okay. Kayla says yes. Ren says yes. Merope was definitely taken advantage of. I want to wait to see what Melanie says a little bit. Unless Melanie is going to like write a. I think the sexual abuse is possible. However, I didn't pick up on it when I read this chapter. However, I wouldn't put it past Morphin.
That's basically how I kind of felt about this chapter. Like I could definitely see it, but I didn't get that initial vibe that it was happening.
Right. I When I read it, I just thought, given everything else going on, I felt like, to me, it feels like it must have happened because they're just so isolated. And I feel like it has been
They're not that
indoctrinated.
isolated though, because the town's like right down the hill, isn't
Right,
it?
but who's there? Muggles. There's no one else around. And I feel like, given the history of their family, the pride in the pure blood ancestry, I feel like in Marvolo's mind, they were going to marry each other. Like Morphin and Merope. Like that would be the union. And that Morphin is so brainwashed by this, he would see it as his right to covet his sister.
Yeah, I guess.
It very Appalachian in that sense, and they're just isolated. Who else is there? No one else is worthy, but his sister has pure blood, therefore she's a worthy partner.
Like I said, I think you can make that stretch, but I just didn't get the vibes. You know,
That's
based on
fair.
everything that happens in the chapter, I don't think the chapter itself gives off the vibes. I think based on the situation, like you said with that Appalachian thing, you could make the stretch that it's happening. But I don't think it's really distinct or even like hinted at within the chapter.
I will also argue that what Merope does to Tom is the abused becoming the abuser.
I mean, yeah, that's obvious.
So I think that is also part of my evidence for the she was sexually abused, because then she goes on to sexually abuse someone for months. the abused becomes the abuser. And that is what happens to people who are molested. People who are molested as children grow up and become the abuser. That's my main component of evidence as to why I think she was, because she then does that to someone else.
I think you could also get there without that, though.
You
Just
could.
um, like I'm going to just assume based on this chapter, her father and her brother just had no tact when it came to getting what they wanted. They just used either their magic or brute force to get it. So she just looked at it like, should I be charming and this and that? No. If I've learned anything from my family, it's use magic or brute force my way in. What fits those descriptions? Love potion.
So Melanie said, now compare Mayella Tom Robinson to Merope Tom Riddle. All right. Let's just do the real surface level stuff. Mayella, Merope. Tom Robinson, Tom Riddle. This is very close.
Yeah, it is.
It's very close. It's very close.
What was Mayella's last name?
Yule.
Yule. That's right. Okay, never mind.
So Mayella and Tom Robinson. Mayella sees Tom Robinson walking to work every day. She sees him every day. She looks out her window. She sees him every day. And then she asks him one day, help me do this, I'll give you a nickel. Help me do this, whatever. And he does, but he's nervous about it. And then one day she asks him, and he comes in the house and she kisses him. He's a happily married man with kids. She kisses him. Her father sees it in the window, beats her up, beats the shit out of her. Merope sees Tom Riddle out the window every day. Her father beats the shit out of her all the time. They leave, they go to Azkaban, right? Because that's what happens at the end of the chapter is Ogden comes back and they get Morphin, they send him to Azkaban. Marvolo kicks off, they bring him too. And she's left alone. Well, she's left alone. She brews her love potion. She gets Tom Riddle. They run away together. Both women in these scenarios violated a man. Mayella kissed Tom Robinson without his permission. And after her father found out, then they turn around and blame him and say he raped her. Merope pretty much drugs Tom Riddle for months. It's pretty much what it is. Drugs him for months.
That's exactly what it is.
And rapes him multiple times. She gets pregnant. So in this case, the abused becomes the abuser. And Mayella, in a way, is also kind of an abuser. She is forcing herself on someone. And then they accuse him of rape, and we know what happens after that. He gets convicted, he dies,
Yeah, I was going to say, I think the abuse comes afterwards because she knew what the repercussions would be for him.
But Tom Robinson tells his story. He tells the court, this is what happened. And when Tom Riddle and no one believes him. When Tom Riddle comes back after Merope and all that, he says he was hoodwinked and this and that. He can't really tell the truth. And no one really knows what happened anyway. The circumstances are very murky, but he is very clearly scarred and traumatized by the events that have occurred. These are both cases in which you have a very love-deprived human being seeking out some kind of affection, some kind of love, some kind of want and desire. And in that longing, they actually do great harm to another person. Um, Tom Riddle Sr., Tom Robinson. It's very much mirror image.
They put their desires above the well-being of the other person.
Yeah. And they put their desires above what the potential desires of that other person would be, or what their um, wishes would be. Um, they're very much one and the same. And even reading To Kill a Mockingbird, like I say, I get sexual abuse vibes with Merope. I don't think it's a far stretch to say that when you read To Kill a Mockingbird, you could see some sexual abuse vibes with the Yules as well, fulfilling that mother wife role when you're the daughter in and of itself is not appropriate or natural. Um, and Bob Yule reacts much the same way that Marvolo reacts when he finds out let Mayella kiss the black guy. He loses it. He's like, he's gonna kill her. He's gonna, that's what Tom Robinson says. He sees her. He's gonna kill her. You can't believe you did that. Blah blah blah. And it's the same thing that Marvolo says. Marvolo is like, are you kidding me? You like that muggle? You filthy whatever. It's beat for beat like the same thing.
Make me want to read To Kill a Mockingbird again, just to understand this chapter a little bit better.
Um, and it's also two instances of two women who fixate on a person who is the most reviled thing by their family.
Yeah.
The thing that their family hates the most is what they fix on and what they desire.
The forbidden fruits,
Yeah,
if you will.
sure, yeah. Um, so Harry and Dumbledore leave the Pensieve, and they talk about what happened, and Dumbledore says she took the love potion off. He ran back, and Dumbledore says like, Tom Riddle left while she was still pregnant. Um, um, and then Harry is like, "Is it important to know all this stuff about Voldemort's past?" And Dumbledore is like, "Yep, very very much so." Um, I also wrote that I think, like Merope, I think Mayella did like Tom Robinson. Like, she genuinely liked him. She thought he was handsome. She thought he was attractive. But you have all these
You have this lifetime of teachings that this is unacceptable going
and
on in the back of your mind that won't let you.
barriers of society
Yeah.
and racism and social standing and all this stuff. And I think, like Merope, I don't think Merope and Mayella intended to
Cause as much harm as they
cause
did.
harm in the way that they did. Mayella thought she was home alone. She didn't think her dad was going to come back. Merope genuinely thought that maybe he would come to love her, and that what she was doing wasn't necessarily bad, and if she took the love potion off, maybe he would love her. And in both cases, they permanently damaged people. In the case of Tom Robinson, he lost his life. In the case of Tom Sr., he was
Lost his
severely
life.
traumatized and eventually did lose his life.
J.K. Rowling be saying about, say, fallen British nobility or other United Kingdom folk?
I think she could be saying some of the same thing. There are pockets of I think there are pockets of British society, whatever, that kind of have some of this similar thing going on.
Do
And
you know who I am? This ring belongs to the Duke of.
yeah, absolutely. I think that's very much at play, royal families that lost all their money and have fallen into disgrace. I think that very much is a thing. There is also you know, um, there's quite a bit of poverty in certain pockets um, of the UK. I think this is much more of a Katie question, maybe, than me.
I was gonna say, I think we just focus more on the U.S. just because
It's
we
our
we don't,
experience.
yeah, we don't have as much knowledge of the current situation or recent past of like the UK with this.
I don't think it would say to be a stretch, though, to assume that Rowling is commentating on, say, important families who have fallen from grace due
Yeah.
to inbreeding and financial woes and squandering resources. Um, oh, oh,
Well, yeah, I'm sure there
I
were
sat so cockeyed that I'm just like,
I'm sure there were plenty of them with like colonialism, and then all of a sudden they started giving all of their colonies back to the people they belong to. You know, a lot of people probably fell out of wealth.
yeah. And then the chapter ends with Harry recognizing the ring that Dumbledore was wearing as being the ring, um, that Marvolo Gaunt was wearing. Um,
You know, if Marvolo didn't have children, I could definitely see him being like a golem,
yeah, yeah.
just alone in his shack, just my precious.
That was really all I had.
Oh, okay.
That was kind of pretty much the essence of what I pulled out of this. I just had a lot of To Kill a Mockingbird. Um, you know what else this also kind of reminds me of? It's To Kill a Mockingbird. There is a scene in To Kill a Mockingbird where um, Atticus goes to visit the Yules and talk to them, and Scout is in the back of the car and she's watching, and it's very much like Harry sitting back and like watching the scene unfold. And Atticus has this conversation, and Mr. Yule gets really upset, and he berates in much the same way that Marvolo gets upset and he berates. And Mr. Yule ends up spitting on Ogden, on Atticus. And Atticus just takes out his handkerchief and he wipes his face off and he doesn't say anything. He just leaves. And it's like this moment where Scout kind of learns about like um turning the other cheek kind of a thing, being the bigger person or whatever. But it also is very similar to like what happens with Ogden. Ogden comes and tries to speak reason, and he just gets buffered every step of the way and abused every step of the way until he's like got no choice but to like turn tail and run away. Atticus doesn't turn tail and run away, but it's very much like the same kind of interaction. It's one person trying to have a logical conversation, and Atticus is a lawyer. He stands for the law and order and the rules, and that's what Ogden is. He stands for the law and the rules, and he's trying to communicate something, and you have this person who is extremely arrogant and ignorant spitting in your face and not willing to like listen um to reason to any of that.
Yeah, to put it in very simple terms, you can't argue with stupid.
No, you can't.
You
Yeah.
got to know when the conversation is lost and just move on because you're not going to get anywhere.
The Toni Morrison vibes. Okay, so like the Toni Morrison vibes were I think they were pretty straightforward. Merope uh just gives up, right? She just gives up. Um and I think um in the same way you see with like Beloved, with the death of the baby, the mother believes like this was the right choice. This was the best choice for my baby. Even though my baby is dead, it was better, and it like haunts her, right? The whole idea is that the death of this child haunts her. Um I believe Merope giving him up and dying, I think she believed she was making the right decision in that
Yeah.
moment. But kind of on the reverse, whereas in Beloved, like she kills her baby, right? In this instance, she's letting herself die.
Yeah.
She's making the choice to not care for her. I think she is thinking like he's better off without me. I'm nothing.
Well, yeah,
I'm
in this instance, like Merope was raised with Marvolo basically telling her like you're not good enough at anything.
yeah.
So then she has a kid, she's like, I'm not good enough to take care of myself or do anything. How am I gonna take care of a child?
Or in the sense of um the life that I would give Tom is not good. He's better off without me. Whereas in it's the opposite in Beloved, I think, where she thinks I the life this child is going to like there's nothing, it's going to be awful no matter what I do. I cannot allow this to happen to my child. So it is better that my child dies than have to suffer through all of this. It's wildly different choices, but kind of born from the same pain.
Yeah.
I know Merope is described as being like zapped of her magic because of um, all of this. I don't remember Beloved super well, but this was a very broad strokes comparison. But
Now, Beloved wasn't actually an inspiration because Beloved came out after Harry Potter, didn't it? Or has it been out?
the book,
I thought it was more
I don't know.
recent.
I don't remember when the book was written. Book's been out for a long time though. I feel like the book came out before Potter did, but
Oh, it did.
I
Okay,
think
I thought it was
I'm
kind
gonna
of
look.
a like a new book because I didn't hear about Beloved until like
It was a book,
rather
and then it became
recently.
it was a they made a movie out of it. Oh yeah, it's a 1987 novel.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Maybe just
Um.
due to its continually being banned, I just never heard of it. But
Um. The whole idea is that she's the idea is that um she murdered her baby.
yeah.
Like, but you don't find out right away. Like, there's this whole thing about how they live in this house
Okay, so spoilers.
and it's haunted by this malevolent spirit,
Mm.
but it's like it's like this whole thing about how this evil spirit is haunting all these people, and really it all comes down to the fact that she um chose to kill her child because of like all of the dysfunction going on. It's wild. The story's wild. It's really good. It's very painful. It's tough. Um but to choose to murder your child, to choose to die rather than live for your child are very drastic choices born from extreme pain. Um
Yeah, you don't make one of those choices when you're having a
no.
good day.
I've never read The Bluest Eye. I feel like I should. It's probably very good. I've heard good things, but I feel like it's probably very heavy. And if I want to cry a lot, then I'll read that.
I think that isn't that like the most banned book.
It's one of them. It's one of the most banned books. Beloved is also very heavily banned.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. Um,
Basically, any book that you see that's banned, you should probably read it.
yeah,
It's probably a good
definitely.
read.
Definitely. Um, God, I feel like I talked a lot.
Well, this was like your live stream
Yeah,
basically. Like
this was a lot of
you've been
conversation.
wanting to do this for a while.
I know.
And I see
That's
why
what it
now.
is. She kills her 4 children to keep them from being recaptured into slavery. The boys run away. One girl survives and one dies and yet return. And one dies and yet returns. Yeah. It's yeah.
I see why you wanted to do this live stream now because it uh mirrors To Kill a Mockingbird very well.
Big time.
Yeah,
Very heavy. I can't read this chapter without thinking about To Kill a Mockingbird or even like some of the documentaries I've seen about Appalachia. um I get big time Appalachia vibes from the Gaunts. Um
definitely does. Like someone said, very Hills Have Eyes vibes.
but I think in less of like the stereotypical, or not stereotypical, less in like the sensational horror movie sense and more in the sense of like
Real life horror.
tragic real life. Like everything about their existence is, there is a malevolency there, there is hatred there, but it's also just sad. Like it's sad and pathetic. Their whole thing. Um and it is one of the heaviest chapters in Potter because I think it's one of the most close to home real life chapters in the series.
Yeah, definitely.
Like this is real raw human hubris and tragedy and
And basically human suffering.
suffering. Yeah. Um and I don't think anyone was expecting that with Harry Potter, and then boom, it's right there and it's powerful.
Yeah, like there's some other horrible chapters, like the Batilda chapter, and just um like Sirius dying and that sort of thing. But yeah, this one's the one where you could find articles about this type of stuff happening in the real world all over the place.
Definitely.
It's a Song of Ice and Fire chapter.
I mean, it could be, yeah, it could be kind of like the chapter where Arya hears the story that the mountains men tell.
And also with the incest.
SOIAF. That stands for Song of Ice and Fire. So Game of Thrones, Melanie.
So that's actually the series name. A Game of Thrones is the show name and the title of the first book in the series.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, um,
And also, if you want to believe it from uh, House of the Dragon, it is also the legend told by Aegon, the Conqueror, that's passed down with the dagger.
let's not do that. Let's not go there. This is a Harry Potter stream right now. We will do that another time.
Okay, okay.
We can talk about that anytime.
Maybe we should do a live stream on that, like how the dagger holds up. We'll talk about it later, like you said.
Fair enough. Um, but yeah, I don't know if anyone else has anything else to say about House of Gaunt, but that's really what I had. Um, Melanie, I hope it's been good enough. I hope uh I feel like I didn't go super deep, but I felt like if I did, we'd be here for like three. Oh,
Thank you,
thank you
Melanie.
so much. Oh, thank you.
I think you did good.
I think I did okay.
Oh, what's the topic of our next fanfic or title?
Are we gonna read that one? Oh,
The one we were talking about reading.
oh. The next fanfic will be called is called Seventh Horcrux.
Yeah, there it was.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you,
I
Melanie.
took like these notes and I was just like, I don't know if this is good enough. I don't know if this is in depth enough. This is hopefully this is good.
Uh, yeah, the seventh Horcrux. That's gonna be fun.
I think it'll be a good one. I think it'll be fun. I feel like I have to sit super sideways to just this is very awkward for me to sit like
You
this.
can talk like normal, and it'll pick it up.
No,
Just
cuz
don't.
like I sit over here and it doesn't.
Just tighten that screw.
Ugh. Now I know. Thanks.
There you go.
I've been sitting cockeyed this whole time for no reason.
You could have said something.
Well,
That's what I said. I'm just here to be the technician on this live
all
stream.
right. Well, too late now. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Sorry, I'm just like having a string of yawns. I apologize.
Yeah, I don't know. Anything else you wanted to say about the House of Gaunt?
Oh, I love it. It's one of my favorite chapters of all time. It's so good because it's so freaking horrifying. Um,
So I guess we talked about the cave. We talked about House of Gaunt. Are there any other chapters that you
would like to
would want
deep
to
dive
dive
into.
into? Yeah.
You are very welcome, Melanie. I am glad I was able to live up to some of the expectation for this chapter. Um, I mean, there are none off the top of my head right now. I feel like if anyone has any suggestions, by all means, suggest them. Um,
You know, so this is kind of off topic since we don't know a chapter, but I'm really surprised that during the whole plot hole stream, no one brought up like who killed Ariana. It's not a plot hole, but I'm just thinking I'm surprised that isn't like a thing when you have Star Wars where it's like who shot first.
well, because we know who shot first.
Stop.
What? No, in the original, Han shot first, and when they did the remastered version, they made Greedo shoot first.
Well, yeah, but that's why they ask who shot first. But I'm
Snape's
saying
memories, the Flight of the Prince chapter. Okay,
I'm surprised there isn't just like a big debate on, who killed Ariana,
I'm sure there is.
who cast the first spell.
I think we got 2 votes for the Prince's Tale.
I think that's a good one.
It's a really good one. It's a really good one. I mean, I could do the Prince's Tale next.
You feeling up to it?
The ultimate felt like I was vindicated chapter throughout the whole thing.
Just waiting for that chapter to come in.
When I saw the title for that chapter for the first time, I was just like, here we go. Everything I have ever wanted for the last 7 books. Here it is. Woo!
This memory and the Prince's Tale together could double feature. A little correlation.
Yeah, maybe. I'm sorry I keep yawning. I don't know what's wrong with me right now. Once I start, like I can't stop. It's very terrible.
I'm just surprised I haven't yawned.
I know I've yawned
Usually it's
literally like
very
10 times
contagious.
in the last 5 minutes. It's stupid.
For some
It's
reason,
kind
your
of annoying.
yawns aren't contagious to me. I don't get it.
Um I could definitely start looking at the Prince's Tale and like um ooh, the chapter of Voldemort's memory of Halloween, 1981. Ooh. The Chinese fireball. Ooh.
I just haven't caught the yawn too. Yeah, I
Maybe
know. I always do from others too. Heck, our Bailey will yawn, a cat will yawn, and I'll yawn.
I don't know. Maybe it's not you guys. Maybe it's me. Maybe there's something wrong
The
with
only
me.
person in the world where their yawn isn't contagious.
No, I like all of these suggestions though. These are good suggestions. I'll have to brewmate on them.
Finally got a spot to with your door. Wait, do you not have oxygen when your door isn't open? Dan, you have to fix that.
Do
Get
you
some
not
ventilation.
do you not have oxygen?
Could be because you can't sleep. Ah, I'm sorry you can't sleep, Kayla.
What do you think, Perm? No, sorry. Perm is cute.
No, you're good. You're good.
She is. She lolly.
I guess
Yeah, I mean, unless anyone has anything else that they want to say, I think that I don't know. I don't really have much else.
so. Are we gonna start the fanfic tomorrow?
Do we want to do the fanfic tomorrow?
Yeah, we can.
Yeah, I'm down to do that.
So we'll start it tomorrow, 7 o'clock.
Let's do it maybe a little earlier.
Okay.
I'm off tomorrow.
I'm not.
Yeah, but can we start earlier?
Yeah, we can.
Okay. Why don't we compromise and do 6:30?
You want a cat or a dog? I highly recommend them.
I recommend cat 100%.
Hey, either one is fine.
I know, but
Great.
depends on how much time you have to devote.
That's true. If you're not home that much, get a cat. They won't care.
Yeah, if you're not home a lot, I wouldn't get a dog. Mice are cute. Mice are nice.
I really want to get a rat, except I after I found out they only live for like 4 years, I just couldn't do that to myself.
It's upsetting, right?
Rats are awesome, but I don't want to get attached to this little critter who's gonna die in a few years.
Yeah,
Can't
yeah,
do it.
yeah. Yeah. Oh, Bengal cats are so pretty.
So 7 p.m.
Oh,
We're
fish are great though. Fish have personalities. Our fish have personalities.
that's true. You could get a fire eel because they'll like eat out of your hand.
Yeah, they'll eat out of your hand. They'll come and like see you. They're sweet. I miss mine.
Or even liked pets.
Yeah, ours even liked pets. I miss Balerion now. Now I'm sad.
Oh, a Bengal cat. You want a Bengal?
I do want a Bengal cat. I
They're
don't want to.
awesome.
Don't want to pay for
Like
one though.
little jaguars
Little big
roaming
kitties.
your house.
Although the vet said when the vet tech took Parm to clean her ears, they said, "Ooh, that's my favorite pattern of cat. She's a tabby and a tortie."
So what are you saying? Because the vet likes her. She's the best.
No, the vet tech. No, I'm just saying that Parm is a tabby and a tortie.
Oh, gotcha. So we got 2 for 1
Yeah. We did bim. Did bim.
cat, mouse, and dog, and fish.
And fish. And snake. Why not?
I don't know. I feel like we have a zoo at this point.
We have so many animals. We have mammals. We have fish. We have reptiles.
I think that reptiles are pretty easy to take care of once you have everything set up.
Yeah, once you get a grasp of what they need, reptiles can be pretty straightforward. It's just about getting
Yeah.
everything
You just have to feed
set
them
up
every
right.
once in a while, and that's about it. Then they're
Well,
good.
when they poop, it's gross.
Ginger Cat for the win. That's right. I'm surprised Jackson hasn't come over.
Bam, bam.
Well, either way, on that note, I guess we will sign off. Call
Yeah,
it at that.
I think so.
Hope you all have a good night. Kayla, get some sleep.
Yeah, try to get
And
some sleep, and we will see you guys tomorrow for some fan fiction reading.
at 7 p.m. And in case you're wondering what time that is for your time zone, we're in Eastern, but I'll also make the live stream and it converts it to your time, so you'll see. All right. Take care, everyone. Good night.
Bye, everybody.